FREDD'N.
Your world is changing. You may not have noticed it at first, but there is little idiosyncrasies. Suddenly, you stare at a cabinet for too long, or your finger on a lamp for an extended amount of time, and you find yourself transported into a more nightmarish version of what you called home. The flowers outside become razors. Your friends are nightmarish blobs of what they once were, filled with rows of teeth as sharp as knives. Now take this disturbing, otherworldly, Lovecraftian thought and apply it to Mario. Then you have Eversion. Rage games were all the rage back in the early 2010s. The most famous and arguably the grandfather of rage games was Cat Mario. Cat Mario was created by Japanese game developer Chiku and was released in February of 2007, though it truly gained popularity in the 2010s. As the name suggests, it was a cat version of Mario and was designed to be extremely unfair to the player, killing them at random points in puzzles you can only figure out by dying. Safe to say, this was the perfect gameplay for loud and rage-filled Let's Players to truly scream at. And oh, they did. Go!
Okay. What?!
Cat Mario was played by nearly everyone under the sun, but while everyone was raging at Cat Mario and its unfair gameplay, one game slipped through the cracks, hidden in the internet, and wouldn't enjoy the same success of rage games like Cat Mario. Eversion. Eversion was released on December 16th, 2008 by an indie development studio by the name of Zarathustra Productions. What's very notable about its creation was that Eversion was created for a 2008 Commonplace Book competition. You might be wondering, well, what does a name like Commonplace Book have to do with video games? Or in this case, Aversion. Well, Commonplace Book is a name directly inspired from H.P. Lovecraft, in specific, his own Commonplace Book. If you don't know what a Commonplace Book is, it's a type of book that would be used to keep ideas and thoughts in. How H.P. Lovecraft used it was to jot down random little story ideas. Quick quotes, one of these quotes being, "Sounds, possibly musical, heard in the night from other worlds, realms of being." This quote not only plays when you boot up Aversion, but also directly inspired the game. Keep it in the back of your head. The competition was hosted by TIG Forums, an online indie gaming community. While originally supposed to end on Halloween of that year to keep up with the spooky H.P. Lovecraft theme, it would be extended to December with a final poll of 36 games to decide the winner. A game by the name of Verge won by a landslide of 81 votes, with Aversion getting third place at 57. But with all that exposition out of the way, let's get into the game itself. Eversion. Eversion begins like any child game does, with a warning for not being safe for children, and the aforementioned quote by H.P. Lovecraft. After that, we are thrown into the colorful menu screen. If you were to completely miss the warning, I'm sure you would be convinced you just bought a Mario clone. This game takes inspiration from Mario. I mean, the enemies are literally named Goombas. This is also your first taste of the wonderful music created by Matthew Steele. I couldn't find much about him other than a Spotify account and a page talking about some of the games he created music for, but he's pretty talented. The sound design in Aversion is one of its highlights and biggest strengths. It's easy to get lulled into a false sense of security in the overworld when the track is just so damn catchy, but the game is almost too bright. In a way, this game feels like an anglerfish. Its bright and cheery visuals seem off in an unexplainable way, like they're too bright. much like how the deadlight of an anglerfish is so bright so it can lure in its victims. As we play this game, we become a victim of Eversion. The first level is simple enough. You collect some gems and wander the level, killing some of these Goombas. It seems safe, just a Mario clone. The movement's pretty good, and the level design is also pretty good. But up until this point, you've been told the spacebar was some kind of evert button, whatever that means. But pressing the spacebar so far has yielded no results. Am I doing it? Am I everting? No, nothing's different. Let's just collect gems, though some seem unreachable. Our character can't jump that high, and there's no platform to lead us to them. Seems like crappy level design, 0 out of 10 Aversion points so far. So we continue on, and weirdly, this section makes everything go green for a second, and the music shifts. Well, let's press spacebar to avert, and oh, we averted. The first level is great. You could play this whole level without ever everting and not learning about it until later in the game. And that's wonderful. I actually did play this level this way. I had no idea what averting was until level 2. Upon averting, it's clear something is strange. The layout is darker, the Goombas are frowning, the sky is a bit darker, and the hills that fill the background seem off. Fake. The clouds are even hanging from strings. It didn't take long and the facade is already starting to break. I think now would be a good time to explain the literal name of the game. Eversion wasn't made up as a title for the game and actually has a definition. So let's see it. Eversion, the act of turning something inside out. By the literal definition of the word, Eversion, the game, is about deconstructing a shell, the game you're playing. Eversion is a mask. It's not a real thing. What's real is when you avert. That's when you are seeing the reality for what it is. And the reality we are seeing right now is only level 2. And from here, things get much, much darker. Speaking of level 2s, let's move on to level 2 of the game. By the way, to beat each level, you walk on a flagpole. Eversion is not beating the Mario allegations. Level 2 is just as the last one, only a tad harder. Notably, you can't escape averting here. You literally have to progress. And so, let's just do that. Once we've averted, the game seems off, sure, but nothing we can't handle. Except at the end, we are presented with one last evert, and things start to break down even more. The Goombas are sadder, the hills are turning monstrous and decaying, and the facade is crumbling even more. But let's go to level 3. Level 3 takes the avert mechanic to another level. You learn that you can unlock different levels of avert by being in different levels. Like being in the slightly sad one can unlock different opportunities to avert than being in the happy one can. This will be useful for later. As you do this avert puzzle, you meet the 4th level. It's weird. The Goombas are now statues with a single eye, and the background is that of a weird synthwave sun. It's very reminiscent of Earthbound, but alas, we continue forward still. As we continue, we are quickly ambushed by a weird dark cloud that consumes everything in its path as it chases us, as if it's distorting the level we are in. Quickly, we traverse to get out of its path, and finally, we're safe. Nothing is in our way, and hey, we're back to the normal game. Happy and cheery, so let's hit this box for a gem, and oh, this is not okay at all. Suddenly, we're in a more nightmarish, distorted world. The hills are almost living with arms reaching out. The clouds have turned to smog covering the sky, and the statued Goombas are now moving, and suddenly and without warning, red spiked hands shoot out of the pits that were once vacant. The fingers filled with sharp edges, and touching them leads to a quick death. This part was awful. At least for me. It was the most rage-inducing part, and the hands jolting upwards reminded me of an unfair death in Cat Mario, like the game was punishing me for even trying to play it. But eventually I struggled through it and got to the end. Our reward? A slightly easier level. Level 5 is another Eversion puzzle-based one, except now we're sent to the next level of everting. The scoreboards have gone haywire, the shriveled up plants are now covered in spikes, and most notably, dying results in an explosion of blood, as does killing the Goombas, who now sport a toothy grin of razor blades. So that's nice. After completing the level, we get sent to a continuation of the last. Let's just walk forward and continue as normal. Holy Jesus! We need to run for our lives, dodging enemy spikes. The background is a red monstrosity as the cloud of blood zooms towards us to consume us. We need to get out of here as fast as possible, dodging the hands, getting through this maze, and we're safe. The last level isn't too much to write home about. It's the same old, and finally, we reach the princess. That's right, I forgot to mention we're saving a princess like classic Mario, and she's a monster. This is the darkest world we've seen yet, and with this, she eats us. While that was anticlimactic, the old bait and switch, we thought the princess was the damsel in distress, but it turns out she was the monster all along. Interesting to note is that this game has a manual. Really going for the whole fake game thing here. Well, taking a look at it, it looks like someone got to it first, leaving us clues as to what to do specifically in collecting the 240 gems. Great. Weird how it keeps mentioning the same mother from the game over screens. By the way, earlier the game over screens would distort and give us creepy messages. Presumably, this eyeball is mother, keeping a watchful eye over what I can only presume is her daughter. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the hands in red gas that chased us while we tried to rescue the princess was also mother as well. Well, booting the game back up and struggling for literal hours, I finally managed to get 240 gems, and we are awarded with the 8th level. To access it, we need to beat the 7th level in this final layer, and everything is as dark as the princess's castle. Once beating this nightmarish version of level 7, we are finally in the final level. This one is weird. It repeats until you get things right, and after doing all of this puzzle work, you need to, and trust me, I'm not going to bore you through the tedious puzzle this level is, it's just a lot of inverting it. Finally, we've reached the princess again. And this time, we too are the monster. But that's okay, because we are monsters in love. And the game ends there. There's also a weird ending where the princess and you turn into the statue Goombas, but that's neither here nor there. Eversion is an interesting game, and I mean it's interesting. I know what you're saying already. FREDD'N, this doesn't seem that scary, and you're right. It's not the most horrifying experience known to man, but it laid a groundwork. It showed what horror could be. It didn't have to present itself as horror and made this game basically the grandfather of subversive horror games. It's so influential that Dan Salvato, creator of Doki Doki Literature Club, one of the most iconic subversive horror games of all time, cited Eversion as an inspiration. But where's the lore? Well, the game isn't jam-packed with lore, but I think a semblance of a story can be deciphered. My interpretation of events is that we are playing a cursed game that exists as a game in this universe, as hinted at by the Altered Game Manual. This game is possessed by an eldritch being named Mother, who infects the code of what was originally a Mario ripoff and turns it into a dark, disturbing version of itself, making the game over screen say mysterious and disturbing messages to the player. The player eventually is overtaken by the game, either being killed by it, as represented by the ending where the princess gets us, or, and maybe more horrifically, turns us into a vessel for the monster ourselves. Getting the gems is a sign of our growing obsession with the game. At least that's what I think. What are your versions of events? Do they disagree with mine? Let me know, and please consider becoming a channel member. It'd be a huge help, and you get tons of exclusive perks. But for now, that was Eversion.
Aversion's not for me.